And we are back with game number 3, or what I should say, video number 2, with game number 3 between GoldSCV and Minchul. And let's remove that little overlay, get into the game itself. So, last time around, both players lost a Protoss against Terran game. Both players won as Terran. The score was equaled up to 1-1. And both players displayed a pretty damn solid Terran in both games. Both players played their turn a little bit differently, but it mostly came down to building up, getting strong, staying alive, not dying, not succumbing under the pressure of the Protoss with the non-stop, constant drop pressure on the minerals. Everything really worked out quite well, and throwing a lot of counter punches in response to all the pressure they were receiving. Mostly tank drops on the probes. And some of them tank drops were really difficult to hit and pretty much just hit within the nick of time. But this time around, just to get things a little bit straightened up once again, because both players are playing on a barcode name. The player barcode V is also known as GoldSCV to all the viewers from Starcraft World and all the viewers who are not familiar with Starcraft World. You might have seen this player pop by a couple of times under the name Spawn King or llllllV, or probably a couple of other names as well, like Hello New York City, Daegu Life, or Agari Hara, whom I pretty much proclaimed that I wanted his babies, because, well, he was a pretty damn good player. And here we have Barcode S Barcode, also known as Minchul or Kensei Park. He's also featured in a couple of videos before, and he's played against Spawn King, so I have another series between these two on my channel. Barcode S Barcode against Spawn King is a series between these two players, where they pretty much play the exact same matchups and alternate between Protoss versus Terran, and then Terran versus Protoss. So he's playing the black Terran here on the bottom left corner of the map. Both players being right next to each other means that a couple of options are available here, and one of those options is aggression from Minchul, because there's no choke out here for Barcode as Barcode, and he's going to be forced to build some zealots now in response to this Marine walking into his base and hitting his probes. He's going to lose a couple of probes if he doesn't... Oh, wait. That... Alright, so it means that 2 zealots are on the way. No probe has died. Probe stays alive. He's going to try to kick the probe down, but he clicks on the zealot. Probe stays alive. Probe's on... Well, he would have died to the shot by the Marine. Another Marine has made it into the base. Here, 2 more Marines. So he's going to keep him busy for now. Prevent him using his zealots to go offensive. He kills in probe. Tries to get the second probe down, but it doesn't work, so he walks away. Marine has a sliver of health left. Now Zealot finally getting some aggression in, but walks into 6 Marines. Has to really skedaddle out of there really quickly. This Marine here still guiding these Zealots all around the base. He does eventually get caught, so now GoldSCV aka llllllV can start going on the offensive here. Zealot in the base got taken down with +1 command center, and GoldSCV spotted that command center being made. And given that he's on 3 gateways, he does have some offensive options, but I assume he's just going to buy time for this cybernetics core to finish. He even added on a 3rd nexus, so that's a +2 nexus. Is going to be a huge economic boom he's going to be experiencing, and he's just gambling on this single cannon and these zealots here being enough to keep Minchul out of his base. Well, that's going to work is something we'll have to see, because he's got an academy here, and he's even making a quite an early Terran factory. He's not really bothering the micro, because he knows that he just has superior numbers. Well, he would have lost a lot less Marines if he didn't just keep them standing there. But he does come out on top. 8 Marines left against 3 Zealots. More Zealots are spawning now, are on the way. We're about to still be finishing up 4 GoldSCV there, which spells us a little vision into the future. He manages to take down that Zealot, but it pulls back to his choke. The fight breaks out again, but his Marine goes down. These Zealots are on full HP. Marines have, some of them have lost some HP, but they're rendezvousing with more. He micros the low HP Marine all the way to the back, makes sure not to lose that one, but he does end up losing 2, but he kills 3 zealots. He's just buying himself time, but there's only 2 cannons there. Medics are not on the way for Minchul. He's not planning on going for stim plays into the base. He does have stim upgrade on the way though, but no medic. Now he's making medics finally, so he is planning on going for stim plays. But he looks like a diversion because while he is putting pressure here on the front, which has pretty much been put to a halt thanks to these cannons here and these zealots, which definitely is not. This is not enough to fight against this here. So robotic support bay has come down. He's up researching speed for them shuttles. He's got 2 Reavers on the way and a shuttle. Shuttle finishes up. Now Reavers are on the way. He's not going for speed. Marines are running away back to safety. No choke has been constructed yet for Minchul, but Minchul is now pulling an SCV to the front where he's going to make a turret just in case Dark Templars are on the way, but there's no Templars Archive out for GoldSCV. So llllllV is not going for Templars Archive, not going for Dark Templars, not going for Templars anytime soon. That he's going to be banking on those Reavers to deal some significant damage, either to the front here or to the side. Those are the 2 main options he's got. Considering he didn't get the Citadel of Adun for Zealot speed, I don't think he's going to go in through the front. He's going to try to force his way in through the side there. Because he needs speed on those Zealots if he wants to break in through the front. Because those Zealots are going to be way too slow. It's going to take way too long to get in here. Though there's no wall here, so it might actually maybe work. Frontal attack and an attack from the side. Both Reavers get dropped on the low ground. Marines get stimmed in, ready to take down those Zealots. Marines get split up quite well, so the Reavers are going to go down without really doing significant amounts of damage. Did take down a couple of Marines, but the fight here in the front also winding up in favor of Minchul. The Zealots, not having Zealot lags, wind up not being able to penetrate all the way through or get us around on those tanks. Pretty much wind up getting blocked off here by those Marines with the assist of these medics, keeping them alive. That didn't really work out that well for him. The one prediction I can make is that GoldSCV is most likely going for carriers here, because those both players are quite close to each other. Minchul is walling off his front, which is going to make it very difficult for GoldSCV to get in there. And I suspect that Minchul is going to use the hill here with dropships, as we most of the time see. They land tanks up on the hill and start pushing closer and closer towards the mineral line with their tanks. We're dropping tanks on the low ground here next to the hill. And the tanks on the low ground here are then protected by tanks on the hill. A couple of tanks behind the hill as well, which protect the tanks on top of the hill. And then they leapfrog forward with the tank push line. He's already starting on that tank push by dropping 2 tanks on the low ground there. Trying to take these cannons out here on the side so he can get closer in with the next group of tanks. Closer to this line of probes there and threaten them. Zealots are on the way. He unsieges them tanks and he loads them back up into the dropship and unloads them on the high ground. Already made a little bit of a gain here. Taking down those cannons. New cannons are on the way. Zealots tripping out because he's trying to attack the units on the high ground, but incapable of doing so. Here, starports are coming down. He already has armor for air on the way. Shields as well. He's not going for weapon or armor upgrades for ground, because he doesn't need that if he's going straight into carriers. And he's loaded up a lot of shuttles with Reavers, Zealots, and he's aiming to deal some significant damage here, but as that was happening, he lost a bunch of probes, and that's entirely my bad there. I should have kept my eye on this portion here. Just wanted to keep check on, but he lost a lot of probes to the tank drop that I was talking about. He abused the fact that these cannons were on the way, but hadn't finished just yet. So you could land a tank, 2 tanks here, get shots off on those probes, and this effectively puts GoldSCV in a position where he has to start landing significant amounts of damages on Minchul, or he's out. There's no way to come back into this one, even with those 3 Nexi. There's no way to come back. Gotta deal significant amounts of damage. And it looks like he's not planning on flying into Minchul's base to try and land a counterpunch. Instead, he's going to defend and try to remove, basically try to fight off every attempt made by Minchul to get tanks on the low ground there by placing his Reavers there on the low ground, which would then immediately take down those tanks if they were to land on the low ground. Minchul is just taking his time. He knows he dealt a huge punch right into the gut, right into the center of GoldSCV's being here. And it means he's got some time to build up his base, get big, defend himself properly, build up his mass, so he can start rolling out. Either through this side here, he can just land tanks on the hill, or he can push out through the front. Either option he goes for, he can deal some significant damage once he has the mass. Right now, he has a small mass, but does not have the ability to produce as much and as quick as he would like to. Playing it safe is sometimes the better option. Sometimes going for an immediate punish, immediate counterplay is the better option, but he's playing it safe because he knows that one single drop by GoldSCV can equalize the game. That's why he's keeping all these tanks here next to his command center, all those Marines there as well. Marines in between the flight path the shuttles would have to fly over. They're ready to snipe shuttles. GoldSCV's got a couple of 6 carriers on the way. But whether those carriers will be sufficient, that's the big question. Oh, he gets an EMP off on those shuttles and Corsairs, meaning that it will take a lot less target fire from the Marines behind the turrets here to take them down, even from the turrets themselves, as they focus on the Corsair. The Corsair would go down significantly faster, which pretty much just limits GoldSCV's ability to land and drop units to this little area here. Otherwise, he risks losing too many of them shuttles before he even gets within range of dealing damage to the mineral line there. So this is pretty much the only effective area he can drop those, but instead he's electing to defend himself against these units dropped on the low ground here, waiting for those carriers to finish up. Because he needs those carriers. He's got interceptor upgrade on the way, almost finished up, armor upgrade level 2, 4 carriers on the way as well. Tank weapon upgrades all on the way for Minchul and his Marines are already at level 2 weapons to 12 minutes into the game. Level 3 weapon upgrade on the way. He's also got the cloak for raids on the way, so he can switch and transition into raids once those carriers are out. He's making a lot of starports there to prepare himself for those carriers. No Goliaths are out yet. He's going to try to push his advantage as fast as he can before a too large an amount of carriers start threatening his tank line here up on the hill. My FPS is once again very, very low. I'm noticing, like something I noticed in the previous video, and it's happening again. I really have no idea why this is happening. And he gets tanked up on the low ground, and the tank doesn't wind up getting a shot off because those Reavers killed the tank before it could get that shot off while it was in the process of sieging up. And his probe count has somewhat recovered, almost equalized back to the amount of our Minchul is. Minchul playing it very low volley, only on 62 SCVs, pretty low gas income. He's now adding more Gators into the mix. But given that he's playing a very slow push playstyle, preserving most of his unit count, doesn't need that many minerals. Because he's not losing many units, doesn't have to replace much. Whereas GoldSCV is really pushing the boundaries here. He really has to push himself through this phase of the game. Get bigger, quick. Otherwise, well, he's got those carriers out now. He can start cleaning up his front here. He's only got on 6 stargates. And if he doesn't wind up losing any of these carriers, it's gonna be a slow process of replacing them. If he had more stargates, it would be easier. Tank push, advancing here on the low ground, just outside of the range of those Reavers. Reavers not daring to move any closer. Pretty much this entire section here is protected by the Reavers. Well, this section here. And low scope of the Reavers next to the tanks. Mario does pretty well, keeps them alive. Great defensive rates coming down on the tank. Now it's going to come down to these carriers cleaning up the low ground there. But a large amount of tanks being loaded down next to the Nexus, but none of them are going to shut off on the probes. Probes stay alive. Carriers now cleaning up the hill here. But raids are on the way for Minchul. Supply count in favor of GoldSCV here, and Minchul might actually be cut out being a little bit too slow here, because his raid count is quite low. There's 10 carriers here and a couple of Corsairs in the mix as well. Corsairs are amazing against raids, so raids might have been shut down by GoldSCV before those raids ever even did any real work. Tank push happening in the front, which should force... Wait, there's a shuttle drop here happening as well. But he sees that there's too many tanks and bunkers there right next to the main command center, so he's dropping them right on top of the depots. Now the depots are going to be taking a lot of damage, probably going to focus on those armories as well. The tanks have seized up right next to it. Units in the front are pushing in, threatening the front for GoldSCV. Reavers here have been cleaned out. He lost a couple of depots, but nothing to worry about because he's not supply blocked. Frontier has been pushed in, but now GoldSCV is pushing back, but those Stim Marines, level 3 weapon upgrade, are doing some real damage against these interceptors with 2 armor, 1 shield. Now the raids are coming in. Raids are just out of the range of those cannons. One is not cloaked up, although we can take that one down. Still has 11 carriers now. 2 more are finishing up as we speak. Observer has just finished, so now we can start attacking into those raids. As long as those raids stay... It's no longer dependent on the vision of those cannons. He goes in. Corsair, Observer there in the back. He's lost a carrier there. But the raids have gone down. Most of the Marines still alive there in the back. Marines actually doing an amazing job at taking down those interceptors. The level 3 weapon upgrade is working out so hard in favor of Minchul here. And this is actually looking like another Protoss loss, which is really rare. No Protoss win in 3 games in a row. Really goes to show how good these players are at playing Terran into Protoss specifically. Well, most of it comes down to hitting tank drops. Alright, now you can see why courses are amazing against raids. Those raids are going down really, really quick against those Corsairs. And these disruption webs also make it really hard for those Marines on the low ground to take down those interceptors. But now Valkyries in the mix. More Valkyries on the way, raids on the way as well. Both players are supply stuck because all of the depots here that were burning wound up dying to burn damage. Pylons dying left and right for GoldSCV. Finally making some new pylons here in the back. So you can start producing or keep producing carriers to defend himself with. But now a huge spread of Marines and anti-air units are taking down those interceptors. GoldSCV calls the GG. And the game ends up in favor of Minchul, who pulls out the 17-minute Terran vs Protoss win. It all came down to the one tank drop that I, sadly enough, I missed. I'm going to rewind it real quick to the timing of that tank drop so we can see exactly what happened. Because it was a really important turning point in the game. Let's see. Hasn't finished yet. Let's just get that rolling up a bit quicker. And then follow the dropship itself. Bunch of fighting happening left and right. There is the dropship. It's gonna be loaded up any time now. Just waiting, he's just securing this front here. Right, there's a tank drop. Oh wait, this is the first tank drop, alright, so just speeding this one up a little bit more. Unloads on the high ground, then uses the same dropship to pick up 2 more tanks. And now I'm gonna slow it down. Dropship flies in before those cannons finish up. Let's do this really slowly. Right, so he gets he gets 58 probe kills. Maybe, wait, no, 60 probe kills there. 60 probe kills. I imagine this game would have turned out completely different if it wasn't for this tank drop here, killing 60 probes in total. Great move, absolutely great move. Coming in just in time before those cannons finish up to land the tank drop. And pretty much securing the win through that move alone. And I honestly think that he could have started being more aggressive here, although he had walled himself off. He could have been more aggressive here and gone for a frontal tank push, because there's pretty much nothing to threaten the units that he would roll out of his base. There's nothing to threaten those units. You could just put them here and start hammering away on the front here. Push his advantage. But he played it safe and came out with a win, nonetheless. And I'm going to roll out into game number 4 right away. And I'm going to use that really nice picture overlay while I load into the next game. Poof, there it is. And you could probably still hear the sounds of me going through all the menus, selecting the replay itself, and clicking on start. And for this game, both players have once again switched roles, switched their races. So it is Minchul, aka Barcode as Barcode, now once again playing on the blue Protoss here, up in the top right corner of the map. And that's a pretty cozy, nice distance. Nice distance removed from GoldSCV. GoldSCV here on the Terran, on the middle right of the map. This is the left side of the map, not the right side. I said the right side, but it's the left side. I keep making that mistake. Let's see. Right now I'm 2 times 2. All right. So stick in the game 2 times 0. Yeah, times 0 times itself times 1. That's what they call it. So it starts off with a barrack. Starts off with a pylon. Nothing too out of the ordinary. We're gonna speed it up just a little bit. Both players are talking a little bit back and forth. Not sure what they're talking about. So just a little recap. Yeah. The score is 2-1 for Barcode S Barcode, aka Minchul or Kensei Park. And there has been no Protoss win in this series. And as I highlighted in the very first video, this player here, VllllllV, plays in the Western League, or in the Foreign League, Starcraft World. And just to highlight how rare it is for him to lose on Protoss on fastest map, he's lost about 2 or 3 times within the last 70 times that he played Protoss versus random. So Protoss versus Terran or Zerg. So he's won about 67 times out of those 70. Which really puts into perspective how good both these players are and how good they are at Terran. Because Barcode S Barcode is at about the same level as VllllllV, and he couldn't beat VllllllV on that Protoss a couple of games ago. And now I'm going back to normal speed because the game has progressed quite well. Both players are progressed quite deeply into their tech tree or tech advancement, their tech choices. There's been no fighting yet because Minchul went for a forge into a pylon in his choke, then a gateway, then gas, and of course cannons here at the front to keep the enemy out. Through Cybernetics core, although that probably happened at around the same time as he went for those cannons in the front there. And a Citadel of Dune and a Templar's Archive. It's a late robotic support bay. There it is. And GoldSCV knows that he cannot push in because there are 3 cannons there, although he could try. He could try if he had medics. He's making medics now. And 2 more barracks. He knows that there's only 3 cannons here in the front. He knows that there's only 1 SCV out on the map. Or is it 2? 2 SCVs, but these SCVs are going to try to backdoor, go sneak in. Those Marines are going to try to block him off, going to chase him down. Stim Brigade is still on the way, so he cannot stim in and finish the Zealot off. So now Minchul knows that there's 5 barracks here. And an engineering bay there on the side as well. He sees that there's only a +1 command center, so he knows that GoldSCV is going for an offensive build because otherwise he would have made a 2nd or 3rd command center there to boost his economy. Plus the 5 barracks kind of gives away an aggressive build. So he decides to add on more cannons at his front. And has Dark Templars on the way as well. But there's a scan out for GoldSCV, so GoldSCV can try to go for a push. And then scan those Dark Templars to prevent the Dark Templar from killing his mass. But there's a gateway here in the front. And that gateway here in the front makes it very hard for these Marines to get on top of those cannons. Dark Templar in the mix. Dark Templar killed a couple of Marines. Now the Marine count has been dwindled down. But he does get in there. He does get blocked out. So most of his Marines cannot access the back cannons all that well. He has the micro in. Winds up failing to kill the choke itself. great move by Minchul to block the front here with the probe, with the zealot, and even with those buildings there. So now he is forced to move in, but his cannons there protecting the probe line. Now he has to start fishing for targets outside of the range of the cannon. Two Templars, regular Templars, have finished. He's gonna try to pick them up. But first he's gonna drop the Reaver on the low ground, kill all the Marines. All the Marines are dead. Two medics are still keeping each other alive. For as long as they have energy and health that needs replenishing. Templars there still on the back. Reaver is flying out. There's no Reavers on the way for those Templars. So the Templars are gonna just be sitting inside of the base for a little while longer. The Corsair gonna be flying into the base to get itself vision. Spot out where there are turrets, where there are no turrets, where there are units, and where there are no units. Goes in, flies in all the way, and the shuttle is flying in at the same time from the bottom side, but the SCVs got pulled away from the shuttle and the Reaver. Reaver gets unloaded. Shuttle flies back to stay outside of the range of the turret. Doesn't get a shot up on those SCVs, doesn't get a shot up on those Marines, but eventually the Reaver goes down. SCVs stay alive, and pretty much winds up with no results other than forcing GoldSCV to stop mining for a while. Shuttle stays alive, so he still has vision on that bottom side of the base. He knows that there's an opening on the bottom side of the base, which I think he's going to use for his next drop. Maybe he's going to use the protection of those Corsairs to fly in over a heavily protected spot, which would be the top side of GoldSCV's base here. But Minchul is just taking his time, because he needs to wait for those shuttles. Scan comes down. He now knows that there's no shuttles there yet, so he knows he's got a little bit more time. But he does know that shuttles will be coming out very soon. Might have even seen those shuttles come out if he was still looking here. At the end duration of that scan. A lot of skeleton pylons now coming down for Minchul. Setting himself up for huge production capability to keep spamming out units and attacks to keep the pressure up non-stop. Minchul split up his drops into 3 separate drops. Each one has Templars in them. One even has a Reaver. The bottom side only has single Zealot and a single Templar. Gonna fly in. It's gonna be very hard for llllllV or GoldSCV to focus here. As with his target selection, storms coming down, threatening those Marines to stay away. He gets a storm up on those SCVs on the minerals, another drop coming down from the bottom side where he gets even more storms down on those SCVs. Really risky move from GoldSCV not to pull his SCVs off of his minerals. He probably assumed that there was no storm left on the Templars because 2 storms had already happened. And the group here dropped on the top side, but the trick drop coming from the bottom side wound up dealing not all that much damage, and was the real drop, or the distraction drop from the top side, that wound up dealing significant amounts of damage. And I actually can see this one, given how this one has been playing out. A lot of lost Marines in the attack there earlier, with pretty much no damage dealt towards Minchul. Meant that these drops are way easier to land because the Marine count is way lower than it could have been, because he lost about 20 Marines there, maybe even 24. Flies from the top side, meets a couple of Marines, flies back. Corsair flying in from the bottom side, now he flies in from the top side once again, starts unloading, unloads both Templars, gets a storm off, misses the first storm, hits the second storm, also kills his own Templar. But at least he got some damage down there on GoldSCV. There's still a shuttle here in the bottom, filled with nothing. Now there's another drop flying out over the bottom side of the map. At least aiming to fly in over the bottom side of the map, over the bottom side of GoldSCV's base. 2 Templars, 3 Templars, and 3 Zealots. And there are 2 Corsairs to assist the drop with flying in, to function as a distraction for those Marines. Only manual target firing can now take down this drop, otherwise it will fly in all the way. And no manual target fire, right? He stims up his shuttles, right? He has to start dodging this storm. He actually target fires all of the Templars before they can even finish the storm animation. And that's actually really amazing to be able to click that fast and target select that fast. Because Minchul did get his Zealots out on the low ground, but the Zealots pretty much functioned as if they weren't even there in terms of distracting away from those Templars. So beautiful job from GoldSCV. Extremely risky, because it would have taken just a fraction of a second of mistiming there, or even a misclick, and he would have once again lost all of his SCV. So his SCV staying alive is pretty much a miracle in that sense. It was amazing play. but risky. I wouldn't do that myself. I would dodge instead of relying on being quick enough with target firing. Lows, another drop here on the top side of GoldSCV's base. GoldSCV spreading out his Marines, but he gets beautiful storms off, beautiful shots off on those Reavers as well. Most Marines have gone down. Couple of storms are still alive. Templar there in the back, getting another storm. All of the Marines have gone down. Only 4 Marines are left. Even 2 Marines now are left. Now he's going to be morphing those Templars into regular Archons. This one's going to go down because a lot of Marines are hammering away on it. This one's going to go down as well before it finishes. Zealot has gone down as well. Took down a single turret. SCV stay alive though. But supply count has at least gone down by 30. I think I saw about 30 units in total die in this area here that belong to GoldSCV. That's a huge result for Minchul. Minchul now flying in from the bottom side of the base. Templar immediately gets taken out. Another Templar also immediately gets focused down with great target selection. No misclicks. Great focus from GoldSCV. Very risky, but it's working out. Working out perfectly fine for him. And now he's even at the point where his economy is big enough, his income is big enough, that it would allow him to start adding buildings onto his base, left and right, turrets, whatever you want to name it, or call it, he can build it. Now drop flies in once again from the same area. This time he's just unloading. Zealots take care of these turrets here on the low ground. That's some additional damage you're going to be taking. Gonna kill a couple of Marines as well. Just being a bother, pretty much. He's just being a bother. A thorn in the side of GoldSCV. So he can buy himself time for these carriers, open up some supply space as well. He's got a very low gateway count, but given that he's got this with upgrades, I don't see a problem with that one. So within 111 for his air. Armor upgrade about to finish as well. For that air. He's going for armor upgrades for ground as well. Actually, he's equalizing all the upgrades at the same time. He's building up a little cannon row here. He's going to use this little cannon row there to hover his carriers over. And those cannons will then take care of the turrets here on the side. Which gives his carriers the room and the ability to just fly in and start threatening the bottom line here. Oh, shuttle that was empty flew in. Distracted GoldSCV for a little bit. But now the real deal is flying in over the top side of the map. And he's going to start making those same cannons here on the bottom side. GoldSCV is moving out. He knows that carriers are on the way, so his tanks are pretty much useless if they were to just sit in his base. He's got Lockdown on the way, and Ghost on the way as well. And GoldSCV is one of the best Lockdown players I've ever seen on the fastest map in my life. So whether he can start locking down those shuttles and carriers is the big question now. Whether you can do it in time, because there's a lot of units here on the low ground there. The storm comes down on a couple of Marines. Now the Interceptors can stay alive for longer. He doesn't have energy on these Ghosts yet to start using Lockdown. Doesn't really have anything that is specifically good against carriers. Units coming in as probes. He's sacrificing his probes, opening up supply space. Keep those tanks busy as well. These carriers here slowly killing and taking down supply count for GoldSCV. Moving up his Ghosts now, but his Ghosts don't have energy just yet. Reaver here has killed a single. This one has killed 10, a single one. Zealots have killed a couple of Marines as well. More carriers are now flying in. More Ghosts are finishing up. More Marines are finishing up. Marines are now stimming up towards those carriers, ready to hammer away on those Interceptors. There is the first lockdown. It comes out on the Reaver. Another lockdown comes down on the carrier. But not enough lockdowns just yet. He needs more lockdowns. Still those Ghosts here in the back with energy. Is he going to use lockdown on another carrier? Marines upgrades are too low to really be a threat to those Interceptors. So most of the Interceptors are staying alive. Unlike what we saw in last game, where the Marines had level 3 weapon upgrades that really tore through those Interceptors really quickly. And now Interceptors are in 2 upgrades. Interceptors very slowly going down, but here comes a drop. Drop with the Reaver and the Templar from earlier. Templar gets a storm up on those SCVs. All the SCVs have gone down. Only 33 SCVs left, and GoldSCV calls the GG. And the game is now in favor. The score is now in favor of Minchul. Barcode as Barcode. This was a really, really solidly well played game from Minchul. A couple of mistakes from GoldSCV, playing very greedy, not dodging the drops whatsoever. But most of that worked out in his favor as he was able to keep on mining with great target selection on those Templars. But this is kind of a textbook Protoss versus Terran, where you very slowly dwindle down the economy of the Terran player. Start hitting a drop, sometimes a huge drop, sometimes a small drop, and keep them on their toes. Keep killing their units, keep them running back and forth inside their own base trying to stay alive. Keep them, or force them to keep spending minerals and reproducing their basic units all around their base. In this case, it was mostly Marines dying, Marines being reproduced. A lot of barracks came down for GoldSCV. He knew he couldn't afford heavy, well, at the end he could afford, but he knew he couldn't afford heavy gas investments for most of that game, so he stuck to Marines. But those Marines were under upgraded, which is a mistake we've seen in the past, where Marines were one of the main units a person or player went for, but then didn't really upgrade them all that well. But given that this game is now over, I'm gonna load up the second game, and once again I'm gonna put up that very beautiful piece of art. There it is. And time to go for game number 5 between Minchul and GoldSCV. GoldSCV recently played under the name White and Black in the first round of the Starcraft W finals, season finals for season 14. In the first round, I'm not going to spoil the result, so you're just going to have to watch that video. But it goes to say that he even wound up in the top 4. Goes to say a lot about his skill level, what he's capable of. And let's remove the image and get back into the countdown. And we're here now in game number 5 between Barcode S Barcode, aka Minchul, and Kensei Park, up against V Barcode V, aka GoldSCV, aka llllllV. And this time around, he is on the Protoss once again, because they're alternating races every single game. And so far, we've got 3 Terran wins, 2 for Minchul, 1 for GoldSCV. So that made the score 2-1 for Minchul. And then a Protoss versus Terran win, finally, in game number 4. Win for Minchul, loss for GoldSCV. Which makes me wonder how this one's going to play out. Will there be another Terran win? Will it be a Protoss win, as is more traditional and orthodox for the matchup? Most of the time Protoss wins, but this might just play out completely different. I'm going to speed up just a little bit, up until about the 2:30 mark, so we don't have to waste all that time watching paint dry. As a certain friend of mine will often say about carriers, carriers is like watching paint dry. So I gotta find something that I am going to say quite often myself. Like going through the early game phase for fastest map can be like watching paint dry. But once the paint has dried, it is a beauty to behold because there's a lot of action painted on that wall. Alright, so just basic standard stuff. Barracks, depots. He specifically started out with a barrack on A10, and depot followed up by that one. And then a barrack right after that one, once he had the minerals for it. SFE finds the cannon in the front there. SFE is getting hammered on by that probe. Marine is on the way, hopes to rendezvous with the SCV just in time before the cannon finishes. Minchul microing his SCV away from the probe. Probe incapable of dealing damage to the SCV. SCV microed very well. Marine arrives on the scene, but the cannon is close to finishing. But now there's an SCV and a Marine hammering away on the cannon. SCV close to dying. SCV winds up dying, but the cannon is on pretty much just a quarter of his health. But a single Marine cannot take down a cannon that's a quarter of his health because it only takes 2 shots to take down that Marine, because it deals 20 damage. Marine has 40 HP, 2 shots, Marine is dead. Zella chases the Marine away. Marine runs to safety. Marine's going to run back to its base or someplace else. So GoldSCV started off with the exact same build that Minchul started off with last game, although he uses 3 cannons in total because the cannon here was being threatened. So he needs more cannons to protect this cannon, because if that cannon was the only one there, it would be very easy for Minchul to push in. Though in contrast to what Minchul does, GoldSCV goes for 2 gas, so his tech advancement will be a little bit slower, but it might be a bit more exact. Instead of a wider variety. Like we saw with Minchul, who went for a Reaver and 4 Templars at the same time. Whereas GoldSCV will probably go for either of the 2. Well, he has Citadel of Doom, he's got a robotic facility there. Templar's Archive, finished up, so probably Dark Templars. I mean, I like to say Dark Templars, because they can be quite fun to watch. It will probably be just Templars in a shuttle flying over the map, trying to do damage, but Minchul is being a bit aggressive here. Moving his Marines out over the middle of the map. Expected to stop a probe from moving out, but instead the probe is already out, but the probe cannot get in, but there's still 3 Marines here in the choke for Minchul. Now he's going to be scouting this frontal part there. No medics are on the way. Stim upgrade is on the way though. It's going to make medics once the stim upgrade finishes up, because you don't need medics before you have stim. At least that's his philosophy. He takes down the probe there on the middle. He's got this Marine here on the bottom corner of the map, so he has vision of this gas, so he can send his SCVs towards the gas when the drop comes flying in and secure the lives of his SCVs. Smart move. Engineering bay on the way. Factory is finished. The fact that he went for +2 command centers means that his economy is going to be booming, and he will be rocketing upwards around the 8 to 9 minute mark once he hits that 70 SCV count. Currently on 29. And yeah, it's going to be Templars and Dark Templars for GoldSCV. 3 Dark Templars are on the way. He's going to fly them in over the hill here once the Dark Templars finish. He's got shuttle speed on the way as well. He's now making 2 more robotic facilities. So his plan definitely, without a doubt, consists of flying units in with shuttles. Preferably Templars and Zealots. There's a Templar on the way here. But first, you're going to start off with Dark Templars. Try to fish for some damage here on the sides. A couple of Zealots walking in through the front, because the front is, funnily enough, completely exposed. No protection there in the front. All the units have been moved to the sides. Moving up some Marines to the front now. Made a wall to keep any units out. Dark Templar's up the logout here. Dark Templar gets taken down by a scan and the command efforts of those Marines. Zealot here securing the sides, killing Marines on the sides that provide vision. These Marines trying to move out to get vision, but might get met by Zealot there. But instead he unloads Dark Templar there to take care of the Marines. He'll take care of this Marine as well. While he's building his next wave of shuttles, Templars and Zealots. Zealot lags. I didn't check if they finished, but I assume it finished. Shuttle still fishing for an opening here on the side. There's a Templar and a Zealot in there, but there's not really an opening, so he's just going to wait for more shuttles to come over. He's fishing for some damage on these depots here, but he's making a triangle of depots there on the front. He flies his shuttles in, starts unloading them. But Minchul target fires on the shuttles and gets a great storm of almost Marines. At least 10 Marines went down there. 8 Marines went down with a group of 12. 8 Marines went down, but he couldn't get a shuttle to penetrate all the way through because the shuttle was in danger of dying. Couldn't get a shuttle to fly in all the way here and threaten the SCVs themselves, so that's a win situation for Minchul. GoldSCV did manage to get the most out of what he could in that specific situation, so he adapted quite well. But a good hold by Minchul. This front here is going to be very difficult to break through. If he hadn't placed his depot there, there could be more Zealots or Dragoons trying to kill this depot here in the front. Now they have to attack this one, then attack these 2, then attack these 3 behind it to really create a solid opening into the base of Minchul. So that pretty much also limits GoldSCV to pretty much just going for shuttle drops non-stop. And probably that has to go for carriers if he wants to ever really make a dent into Minchul's what seems to be solid metal or iron defense here. Wraith there on the side spots out the shuttles, going to chase down those shuttles, but of course they're going to try to take care of the Wraith. Wraith tries to micro around, but it does take a lot of damage from those Corsairs, and they're going to go down before the shuttle goes down, but the shuttle took a lot of damage. Now the shuttle has to be moved to the back. He might not even try or bother moving that one to the back. probably going to go down to the shuttles right away. But a drop comes in from the northern side. That's the real drop. Storms on top of those Marines. A couple of Dark Templars and Zealots are in the mix there as well. Another drop here landing on the bottom side, killing a huge amount of Marines there. I couldn't click on the Templar to see how many he killed, but pretty much the Marine count inside of the base of Minchul has been halved. He's not making new ones just yet. Raids taking out of the shuttle, taking care of the shuttles hovering over his command center. Luckily nothing inside, but the new drops already flying in over the northern side. The raids now have their time to shine. Raids don't respond. Drop flies in pretty much all the way. All of the shuttles get to unload. Only the single shuttle was filled up. Gets creates double storm off on one spot, but Minchul with very quick reaction time pulls those SCVs away to safety. Prevents them from flying into the double storm. A double storm would have killed all those SCVs there if they went to the double storm, because double storm deals double damage. And double storm is pretty much the benchmark. You cannot really do a triple storm on one spot. I think it registers as just a double storm. Great move. No damage dealt to Minchul whatsoever up until this point. Aside from losing Marines, no damage lost. I mean, no damage dealt aside from losing Marines. That's a great situation for Minchul to be in. And a really bad situation for GoldSCV to be in. Both players now on 71 probes. Now he's adding on more gas, because he's going to transition into carriers, I assume. At least that would be the most logical option at this point. A lot of Corsairs to assist this drop with flying in. Everything is loaded up. That's, wait, 10 Corsairs, that's a lot. Those Corsairs are going to be taking care of the raids that Minchul has, but the raids are on the wrong side here of the base. Scan came down. What did he scan? He scanned the choke there. Just the choke. Now he's trying to scan other parts, but he sees pretty much nothing at all. That means that he doesn't know the drop is about to fly in. There's an observer there in the mix as well, just to detect those raids if they do cloak up. All the raids have gone down there at the top side. Storm, great double storm, but the second storm misses, so the SCVs stay alive. Second storm being placed just a little bit higher. Those SCVs would have died to double storm, but double storm barely misses. SCVs stay alive. A couple of units here went down though. Marines once again dying. A couple of raids have gone down as well, but there's still a lot of raids alive. And once again, no significant amount of damage have been dealt to Minchul. Minchul doing a really good job of managing this drop defense here. Making sure to limit GoldSCV's impact on his defenses to a minimum. Well, now a lot of Zealots being loaded up, being loaded down here on the lower up next to those turrets, ready to take care of those turrets. Most of the turrets have gone down, but now the Zealots are being drawn in by those Marines. That turret here on the top side is still going to go down. All of the Marines have gone down, but the tanks there are a bit beefier than those Marines. So Marines, the Zealots will take care of those. The tanks will take care of those Zealots. That's what I wanted to say. Fumbling and tripping over my tongue. I really needed that drink of water. Right, so more observers are flying in. And observers reach the Corsairs just in time. Now those raids are in danger of dying. Raids have gone down. Observers being placed here on the other side as well. Those observers are doing a great job of providing vision. Constant vision. Over those base walls, as you can see here. So now he knows exactly what's close to the edges of Minchul's base. Let's get some more vision. Alright, here comes the real drop. But the real drop is forced to fly back. Corsairs still here hanging around the main command center. Drop not being able to fly in really hurts for GoldSCV. GoldSCV now adding on a lot more gateways. Carrier capacity upgrade on the way. So he's going to go for carriers very soon. Got a nice little space here to add on more starports. Stargates, not starports. Stargates. Now he's got 8 shuttles flying in over the northern side of Minchul's base. Flies in pretty much uncontested. No focus fire from Minchul. Minchul now in a lot of danger, but it's actually just Zealots here unloading. So a lot of units here get taken out. A lot of tanks have been cleared out. Zealots now taking down... Ooh, he's trying to get the splash damage on those SCVs, but the SCVs are out of range, blocked by those Marines. And once again, GoldSCV manages to pretty much deal no damage. If he had a couple of Templars inside of that drop, he would have been able to deal monumental amounts of damage, because it took a lot of time before Minchul moved his SCVs off of his minerals. So now another drop flies in, pretty much uncontested. Now Minchul stims up, flies in, and he gets a storm off, but the storm kills only 8 SCVs. Wait, no. 16 SCVs have gone down there. That's actually a pretty decent pickup. Not the size of pickup that he needed, because Minchul is already quite big. 160 supply. It's on 4 command centers, so he can replenish those SCVs quite rapidly. After his SCVs start mining at full capacity once again, but another drop's already flying in over the northern side. Zealots moving in over the front side here, ready to take down those depots there in the front. Siege tank's gonna help those Zealots take down those depots. Drop got scanned. Drop got scanned there on the side. Great scan by Minchul, scanning his sides, because he knows that GoldSCV is going to hover his drops over the sides here before he flies in. So you can either scan this portion here, get information, or scan this portion here and get information. And depending on where those shuttles are, he can offensively move out his Valkyries to take down those shuttles, and the Corsairs as well. Lord Templar here. I don't know if he has Mind Control upgrade finished up. Carriers finishing up. 14 minutes into the game. Quite quick on the carriers. But the amount of carriers is quite small still. 6 more carriers are on the way. Having 6 carriers on the way at once does limit his ability to land really sizely drops. I would even argue that now is a great time for Minchul to move out and become aggressive. After this drop, of course. First, you're going to have to fight off this drop, because this drop can deal some significant damage if he does decide to move out. So he rather play it safe, wait for that drop to hit, now lifting up his barracks and his engineering base, get himself additional vision over the sides here. In addition to this one, like mimic what this one is doing. He's got them over there as well. Drop flies in over the bottom side of the base. Uncontested, pretty much just a couple of turrets there in the mix. But now Valkyrie's flying in, Valkyrie's taking care of those freights, of those shuttles really quick. Only a couple of units managed to unload. Templar gets a storm off, but the storm misses anything whatsoever. GoldSCV still has dealt no damage. Aside from taking those 16 SCVs down, and a lot of Marines all game down have been going down. All game long have been going down. Now cannons being made on the middle by GoldSCV to keep Minchul inside of his base, or to slow him down if he does decide to push out. 9 carriers have now finished up. How many Valkyries are there? 12 Valkyries. Those Valkyries will have no problem taking down those interceptors. But he's making cannons here, which should make it a little bit harder for Minchul to be offensive against those carriers. Takes down the engineering base there on the top side to prevent vision over the hill. He hangs his Valkyries in the back so that they focus fire, meaning that they, at random, fire on the interceptors. Interceptors go down way quicker than carriers. So if you were to take down those interceptors with those Valkyries, carriers wind up getting just huge lumps of meat or HP. They're made of metal. So huge chunks of metal hang in the air, unable to fight back. That's basically the idea behind hanging your Valkyries in the back on hold position, and they just fire at whatever comes within their range. And the splash damage that they have winds up taking down a lot of interceptors at the same time. Smart move. Just hold position your Valkyries in the back. It is honestly a relatively low effort way of dealing with carrier interceptors. The only weakness it poses though is that if the Protoss goes for Arbiters with stasis, they can lock your your Valkyries, and your Valkyries are unable to dodge because they first need to stop firing before they can start moving again. You can't really micro them all that well. And then you have a lot of supply stuck in Valkyries, because they do take about 4 supply each. They have a lot of Valkyries hanging there, unable to replace them. And their carriers can then just roll over the base and deal a lot of damage. Those Valkyries are still alive, still safe. Hanging them over to command centers is a defensive measure, because drops might still be flying in. But no drops are being made by GoldSCVs, going all in on carriers. It's 8 carriers here. 9 carriers there for a total of 17. And 2 drops. But the drops got scanned. Great scan by Minchul, keeping himself in the know-how, keeping himself aware on what GoldSCV is up to. And there's so many Marines and Valkyries here that he can't even fly those shuttles in over this side of the base. So now he's going to relocate himself towards the front or the left side and hope that he can fly in over that side. But I think that Minchul is just going to be keeping his scanning up. He's got 4 scans here. And once he scans, he's moving up, down, up and down to the side here. He might even spot it with his vessel. I doubt it, but it might work. Vessel is scouting the entire map looking for expos, like whether there are gateways on the sides or stargates on the sides. So he has something to focus on once he does decide to move out, or doesn't get caught out by surprise. And as predicted, he's going for the bottom side here, but there's a lot of turrets there taking care of those interceptors. Now the Valkyries are hanging there as well. So turrets supported by Valkyries, or the other way around, however you want to call it. Call of tanks moving out here in the front, ready to take down those cannons, but carriers beat those tanks immediately. Tanks manage to take down a single cannon, maybe a second one. But they get taken down, sacrificed to the gods, sacrificed to the carriers. But now the Valkyries on the side here are taking down those carriers really, really quick. Those carriers don't stand a chance whatsoever. All the carriers have gone down within the blink of an eye. I barely managed to catch it. That's absolutely devastating for GoldSCV. Now the remaining carriers being hunted down by those Valkyries. And the Valkyries probably have... I can't even click on them. There they are. Valkyries are going down quite quick. Carriers have been split up. The carriers are still taking significant amounts of damage from those Valkyries. Who will come out on top? It looks to be that the carriers wind out on top. But these carriers have pretty much lost all of their HP. They've torn down... They've expended their shields, that's the word. And a lot of Valkyries are already being replaced here because he's got 8 starports. 4 Valkyries already finished up. He's got Marines as backup, ready to take down those carriers if those carriers do decide to fly in. So for now, those carriers are pretty much just going to function as a deterrent for these tanks, so these tanks cannot push out into the middle of the base or the map. More carriers are on the way. He's got Arbiters now. And I assume he also has Arbiter Stasis all finished up. He's on 223 upgrades. Minchul is on 03 and 23 for his mech. His air upgrades are on 23 as well. And it also explains why those carriers went down so quick. And the fact that there's only 8 carriers in the mix here means that these Marines are capable of taking down those interceptors on stim rather quick. Now the Valkyries are coming into the mix as well. And 6 of the carriers have gone down within the blink of an eye. 2 carriers still alive, but barely scraping by on that low HP. Forced to pull back. GoldSCV pushed into a corner, so to speak. Even though he still has Minchul stuck in his corner. Minchul is going to be free from that restriction very, very soon. If it keeps on pushing at this pace. Now, more carriers are on the way. It's a total of 11 carriers he has here in the mix. Arbiter in the back. Arbiter has enough energy for a stasis. Gets down to stasis. Oh, no. He gets EMP'd before he can get the stasis down. That's absolutely amazing. Great timing, great awareness from Minchul. Hitting the EMP right at about the same time the stasis was about to go down. But there's another Arbiter here in the back. Stasis on just about half of those Valkyries. That's a really close call. There is no more energy on the vessel, so no second EMP came out. But he is nonetheless still forced to recede back to the safe confines of space because he's losing interceptors way too rapidly. Wait, why am I... Alright, that's what I want to see. A lot of these carriers have lost a lot of HP to those Valkyries hitting them. Even though it was for a very short period of time, they've lost so much health. Pretty much just this one has some shield left. All the others have lost most of the shields and HP. Minchul is now a very, very threatening force. Pushing in over the map, gaining control. GoldSCV making a huge amount of cannons here in the front with the hopes of buying himself time and making it harder for these Goliaths to get target fire down on those carriers. Or for those Valkyries to get target fire down on those carriers, because every time these Valkyries are now flying in, hit those carriers, GoldSCV can just retreat, and those Valkyries will take cannon damage. But these tanks are taking out those cannons that were made seconds ago, within seconds. And there comes the Vessel. Vessel gets a great EMP off on the Arbiter and on the carriers. So now the shields have once again been reset to 0. As they have started recovering from all that abuse by those Valkyries. He's making a lot of Reavers here on the side. He's going to try to, after those carriers die, he's going to try to make a lot of Reavers and hopefully land a huge Reaver drop right on top there. But I don't think he's going to get a chance for that, because this is just such an insanely strong combination here. Goliaths, Valkyries, tanks. This combination just shreds through carriers. As we can see, those carriers are going down quite quickly. And the FPS, once again, quite low. I'm not sure why this FPS is quite low, but I hope you don't really notice it as I'm recording. A lot of those carriers have gone down. Only 8 carriers left. Most of the carriers are on low HP. Flies in, managed to micro his Goliaths into the base there. And get target fire down on those carriers. Carriers now forced to pull back. Carriers pushed into a corner. Forced to recede back to those Stargates, and a lot of courses have come out. Courses are pretty great against those Valkyries, but these courses are probably going to go down to those Valkyries as well. And even if they do go down to Valkyries, there's still Goliaths there on the low ground ready to take care of those Corsairs. And honestly, don't think that GoldSCV has a single answer for this aggression here from Minchul. Minchul is doing an amazing job of pushing in and keeping the pressure up, keeping the target fire, even managing to get a defensive matrix down to keep that unit alive for longer. Only 3 carriers left alive now. No carriers are on the way. Oh, he's making Dark Templars instead. There's a vessel there detecting those Dark Templars, so the Dark Templars wind up not achieving all that much. He's already making shuttles here, already making Reavers here on the bottom side of the map, hoping for this to be a counterpunch that will pull him back into the game. But by the time that these Reavers are finishing up and he's able to fly in this drop, he'll have lost most of his production facilities in his actual base here up top. Because those tanks are progressing scarily quick. And whatever GoldSCV is throwing at those tanks and Valkyries, it just dies within the blink of an eye. Thanks to all those upgrades. Both players have actually done quite a good job on upgrades. Although GoldSCV has neglected his ground upgrades because he went for carriers quite early on into the game. So he is feeling that pain just a little bit. Not that it would have made a huge difference though against all these tanks and Goliaths. Now the drop here is flying in, but the drop got scanned and the Valkyries immediately respawn and ready to take down those shuttles. But the shuttles manage to fly in all the way, but they go down just before they reach destination. And GoldSCV taps out, calls it GG, loses game number 5, and that means that Minchul comes out on top as the winner here. Winning 4-1 against none other than GoldSCV, beating him TVP, Terran versus Protoss, not once, not twice, but 3 times. He won TVP 3 times against GoldSCV, which is absolutely magnitudinally insane. Excuse me for my language, but that's absolutely magnitudinally insane. Lost a single game as a Protoss, though. That's kind of also understandable. He got hit by a huge, massive tank drop, I assume, or was it another different game? Anyway, 4-1, Minchul wins. GoldSCV bites the dust. Something he doesn't often do. But this goes to show that Minchul is an absolutely insane player with insane playing ability. And this also goes to show that Protoss isn't necessarily the strongest race in the game, as many people believe. But if you are really, really good, like these players are, Terran becomes so much stronger in the right hands. You can pull off wins consistently against top-level fastest map players, like GoldSCV himself. He's a top-level fastest map player. He's an absolutely insane level player, but he lost the game. So yeah, that's that was the series. It was a best of 7, it turns out, and GoldSCV bites the dust. Minchul wins and stands victorious once again. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.